Senator Martucci, staff person, attended the UDC meeting and recommended we apply again for funding as the budget process is beginning. It will be different minus our current governor, or so she anticipates. Motion carried to send appropriate letter and follow up. Pennsylvania Legislative Breakfast, the staff met with representatives from Governor Wolf's office with positive contact and follow up by the staff. The UDC's fiscal sustainability consultant will meet with the staff on August 11th. Grants, tag grants, Tustin is on schedule with completion requirements of the current grant. Deadline for this year's round is August 20th.
We did, the tag grant was submitted was submitted last year's approved, and we received $9,000.
Okay. For TMR, they asked about the proposed boat launch, TMR, and the proposed purchase of the landing site by the MPS. The boat launch is still being reviewed by consultants in the MPS and the Worm Committee. Staffing, the MPS announced Debbie Siebert as the new manager in charge of commercial permitting program, and the new law enforcement ranger is Nate Burdick. Awards banquet, our planning board chair, Ed Jackson, will receive the volunteer award, and the date is Sunday, September 12th at the Central House in Beach Lake from 3 to 6:30 p.m. State Senator Mike Martucci will be the keynote speaker. Reservations and prepayment to the UDC by September the 3rd. And other, she has Skinner's Falls, Milanville Bridge, 923 Project Advisory Committee. The advisory committee will meet to announce the results of the PennDOT linkage study. Okay. Brandy with the Energy Committee.
We're still commissioning a free ramp-up phase for the Tustin Horse. There have been some unforeseen issues that we're looking through impact bioenergy in Seattle. We've tested processing some material, but have not given businesses their bucket yet since we're not ready to begin. Likewise, we've stopped having the tent at the farmers market until we know the start date. Rochester Institute of Technology has a professor and student group interested in doing a case study on Tustin Horse, and we believe they'll be coming on site in August. Impact Bioenergy, the makers of the horse, has released a statement regarding the positive climate impact of the horse. Through its processing of organic waste material, each horse actively reverses the carbon footprint of 8.5 cars annually. If you factor in the use of probiotic plant food instead of synthetic fertilizer, this carbon footprint reversal rises to 45 cars annually. That's what we need to do. In addition, the TEC soft plastic collection after 2 years is more than 5 tons or more than 10,000 pounds. We have ordered our 5th free track bench for the town to be part of the Best Tech Memorial Garden at the Tustin Library.
That's pretty impressive, 10,000 pounds of plastic. And that's just the people that are doing it.
Any questions for Brandy at all? Bioenergy is gonna solve whatever your problem is.
This is the part, the carry part. You know, we can take them off.
Yeah. I've heard that. Jane, grants?
Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you before. I was thinking it was this grant.
That's okay.
So again, the paperwork was submitted to close out last year's tag grant, and we did receive the $9,000 for the comprehensive plan workup or rewrite or new. And then by August 20th, I will have the next tag grants application submitted. We don't know exactly how much that's going to be, but that'll be for zoning upgrades and possibly some of the implementing some of the action items from the comprehensive plan. And that's about it. Some of you might have received something from Alien Gunther that said that there's money out there for water, and Ben and I are pursuing that. So if that's a grant, I'm saying it there. And that's it.
That's a good one.
Hmm.
Leave me for a moment. I want to try to find something.
To the person in the back, there are chairs. You're welcome to take a chair. Okay. Page 7.
Yeah, normally. Okay. Going to do public comment before new business or before the old?
What? What? This?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, normally we do the public comment before the old
oh,
business.
all right.
You screwed me up with that one. Okay, we're gonna open up the floor to public comment before we start in the old business. Go ahead, Brandy.
This town board has taken an oath to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. I should know I took the oath twice. I emailed Ben 2.5 weeks before tonight's meeting, asking to restore the Zoom option at the safe way for the public to attend the town board meeting. Yet that did not happen. That's inexcusable. Zoom meetings should resume immediately. Delta variant is highly transmissible, and the town board should proactively protect those who are elderly, young, disabled, unable to drive to town hall, out of town on business, and those who are at high risk, like myself, who don't want to be indoors with potential carriers. This week's River Reporter front page headline reads, Sullivan County reaches substantial COVID-19 transmission rate. The numbers are going up. We are now in code red. Yes, the governor has mandated that town boards must resume in-person meetings at town hall. That includes the option for in-person audience attendance as well. However, the New York State Committee on Open Meetings Laws has stated that, quote, there is nothing in the open meetings law which would prohibit a public body from offering the public that additional option to view a meeting through the use of live streaming, broadcasting, video conferencing, or other remote access means, as long as the statutory requirements relating to the right of in-person attendance have been met. I am asking again to bring back our Zoom meetings immediately so we can attend town board meetings remotely and safely. I've heard that if the board brings back Zoom, they're considering not allowing Zoom participants to engage in public comment. Decades ago, the town board resolved to hear public comments at the monthly meeting. If the town board wants to eliminate public comment on Zoom and or for in-person meetings, then you must vote on that change publicly. Then we'll see who wants to hear from the public and who does not. As public servants, I believe that hearing from the public is a great way to learn from those who put you on this board. I always learn from the constituents, and they guided me to govern with them in mind. Having public comments for only in-person attendees at town hall and not for Zoom attendees is an inequity and taking away freedom of speech from remote participants. Pushing a mute and unmute button is very easy. I ask that you continue to hear the public comments, concerns, and ideas both at in-person meetings and at remote Zoom meetings. We have it set up, it's safer for the public, and it provides for transparent governing. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Thanks, Brandy. Star?
I just wanted to add something that Randy said right now, that the Zoom meetings not only allow larger participation, it also allows participation for people who might otherwise not be able to get here. I'm a perfect example today. I just got back from Hackensack Hospital where strict COVID precautions are still being enforced. This is why I'm wearing my mask and I'm trying to stay away from people. But when I came home, I brought my husband home from having a procedure. If I had Zoom access, I could attend this meeting and not have to be in there in his recuperative state. So having no Zoom really discriminates against not only people who want to participate, but for people who can't participate any other way. That should be restored. There's been a lot of lip service given here about, oh, we want people to participate and want everybody to join in and give their opinion. At the last workshop meeting, there were 4, including me, in the audience, and that's it. I don't believe that that was even shown as people could come in without commenting and much what was going on. It's totally inexcusable. Use COVID social distancing as an excuse to limit public access to meetings. It's a transparent scam to limit the people who are wanting to put input that maybe the board or someone else doesn't agree with. It's a gag action to stop people from being able to voice their opinion. And I really think it's disgraceful that this has not been in Zoom. We were told at that workshop meeting that, oh, gray area that maybe people who wanted to participate in Zoom would be prohibited by law from making a comment unless they were in the room physically. I don't believe that that's correct. So I would like to join with Sandy and say the Zoom meeting should be resumed if in fact you want more participation and input from the public.
Bernie?
All right, I got a comment on the grants for the water system. The best way to do it is through your engineer. There's stuff out there that you'll never find, that the engineers do all the time. They know what the stuff costs.
You. Brendan?
Someday COVID will be over. And I'm a big fan of Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings means open government. Open government is good government. And I strongly encourage us to consider, not just consider, but to act on Zoom meetings forever. So better technology comes, but allows people like me sometimes who can't be here on a Tuesday night to be able to listen in, to participate. The other advantage is it's recorded. And if there's a question about what happened, you can go back to the recording and play back what happened. Everybody's gonna test your memory. It's right there on the recording. So I strongly support what Star and Brandy have proposed. Let's keep Zoom meetings going.
Ed?
In my 5 years on the board, I advocated strongly for the cleanup of the 14 landfill. And at that time, they installed monitoring to check, you know, if it's still there, if it's still heading towards the river, whatever. Do you ever hear any reports about that?
They still file the reports. I can't tell you when the last one was. I know when I came into office that they still monitor. We still have to clean keep the grounds clear so that they have access to them. So it's still being monitored, yes. Yes, ma'am.
First, I would like to say thank you for the whole comment. I've actually spoken with the government, and they've said there is no prohibition from the board or any board from, in addition to holding in-person meetings, also videotaping them or live streaming them in some rooms. So I'm fully supportive. I feel there are some people that can't make it here, who have childcare, health issues, other issues, and they shouldn't be prohibited from participating in their town meeting just because of outside issues. And you all are making sacrifices to be here, but the same would apply to you as well. You would expect the same courtesy that you have every year. The other issue that I have is that the minutes of the meeting are not being put on the website, are not being distributed within the required statutory 2 weeks from the meeting. The law is clear. The meeting minutes must be posted within 2 weeks of a meeting, whether or not they have been voted on. And that is not being done. That has historically not been done. So there's another reason why we at least had meetings. It's not excusable, but at least people can participate and see what's going on. The other question that I had is with respect to the solar farm on Widow Drive. Not last meeting, the meeting before, I raised an issue, and in several other meetings, I raised issues with respect to it not being mowed, not not of adequate height. I had been told at one point that the solar farm had been shut down because it was not in compliance with the town's requirements. I asked for paperwork with respect to that solar farm. It's been a year and a half. I have not received the paperwork that I've asked for. So again, I'm asking, who is regulating, who is watching what the solar farm, what the Delaware River Solar is doing on that solar farm? Who is ensuring that it's getting growth? Who's ensuring that it's being maintained properly? Because past couple of days, I've seen birds pecking at the panel. The last thing that we need is for one of the panels to work. The last thing that I need is for one of the panels to catch fire.
The code enforcement officer is the person that would be overseeing what was mandated through the planning board.
The building enforcement officer. And where can I, again, I'm asking for a copy of the regulations that they provide by. What have they been, what, as part of the contract with the town, put that solar farm there in a residential neighborhood, what did they promise the town? Aside from the trees, which they put Christmas trees, what else were they required to do? Because they haven't been, they mowed one time this entire season. The grass
I
was
would
so
con-
high, it was the top of the town.
Contact the code enforcement officer. I don't know what they promised the town. That was before I got here. Okay, so for me to tell you what it is, I don't know. Contact the code enforcement officer. He'll be able to tell you what he needs. The same thing with the contract that they filed for it. Any other public comment? Yes, Jeffrey.
I would like to, and my wife, the idea that, you know, compensating for regional representation to be continued. And it's odd that in this day and age, and everything's gone digital, that, the situation becomes, most of the equipment that services have become very affordable, and it doesn't take some kind of IT genius to hook this stuff up, and it would be much greater capacity for the community to involve, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yes, Mary.
I will be short and succinct.
Iris.
Government,
I can't hear you. Sorry.
I will be short and succinct. Government is elected by the people, for the people. And the people, whether they are here speaking out or whether they are anywhere else in town or in Narrowsburg, are very much in favor of maintaining public comment soon so that they can be part of a very important factor in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris.
Does the town have the technology to do this?
We can buy the technology to do it. There's different, yeah.
What did you do before?
The equipment that we used before was a little bit, it wasn't the equipment that you'd want to do a full. There are some issues that people tend to forget that can be corrected with better equipment. So yes, do we have equipment? Yes, we have equipment to do it. Do we have the best equipment to do it or even good equipment? That would need to come. That's not a big jump, but. Last one.
Is there any way we, the town can update, the meeting? And so, anyway, update on the website. Yesterday, there's a PBA meeting. I was here and no one showed up, and then there is no post on the board and say, meeting. And so, neither on the website. And, there's a gentleman, Mr. Dow, he also had a, letter asking to show up, 7:20. And it was, kind of confusing, wondering if any way can update before the meeting.
Sure they can. I'll find out why.
The emergency, it was a last minute emergency. I did follow up with that for you. Typically, we do try to post that, but it was a last minute emergency from my understanding. Mhm.
Moving into old business, hours for the temporary assistant to the Narrowsburg Water and Sewer Clerk and Bookkeeper, the same as last month's. Motion that Jocelyn Stumpler, temporary assistant to the Narrowsburg Water and Sewer Clerk, Town Bookkeeper, Governance Secretary, continue as previously appointed with extra time approved by the town supervisor as needed. This is, we've been doing this month to month. We're looking to extend it.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act. Discussion whether we're going to opt in or opt out.
Well, you want me to open?
Floor
it?
is your, Jan. That's all yours, Janet.
All right, I think that we should opt in for dispensing and opt out for lounges. And I'll give you reasons. The reason being that there are lots of people, I'm told, that use marijuana in our town, outside our town, visiting our town. So we don't know where they're getting that. We don't know what kind of, is it tobacco? I don't know what you call it. They're getting, it's not regulated. This way it would be regulated. It would, and we would get some revenue for it. And I think we should do it.
Dead set against it,
Tell me why.
because you don't realize what, granted, there might be some people in our area that will use it, but then there's gonna be people coming from out of the area that you might not want in town. And that's been a shown thing in other areas. And I'm just completely against it. We're not gonna change my mind. The little bit of revenue we get from it is not gonna be worth what can happen.
Hey, Al,
I feel the same way as Bruce does.
so you just don't want other people coming to town to buy the marijuana?
I don't want it sold in our town in a store. That's just-
Well, there are people in town that use it. We know that to be true. And so therefore, they're gonna have to buy it from someplace.
They've been having no problem up to now, I guess, so why bother?
But it's been unregulated, so they're going all over the place. Now it's regulated, they're going to have to go to a dispensary.
I'm out.
All right, I'm,
You're giving up the fight that early.
well, I'm. And Al, you just don't want people coming to town to buy,
No, that's not what I said.
oh,
I said
tell me.
I'm against the opting in. Has nothing to do with people coming into town
Oh,
to
so
buy.
what are you against? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
I'm against opting in for everything,
But tell me why.
because I don't feel that it belongs in this town. I've been in this town for more than 50 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. And good changes, not bad changes, good changes. And I don't want to see anything, do anything to those good changes. And I think that opting in would.
Well, you both, everybody realizes that it's legal, so you're gonna smell it and people are going to
People are
use
gonna
it.
do what they want to do, and that's fine, because that's what people do. So I don't have it, I can't make a judgment on that. My judgment is that I don't feel that this town needs any of that at this point.
Then,
Well, just to make you overly happy tonight, I'm gonna go with definitely opting out of the lounges, and I'm gonna say opting out of the dispensaries until after the public hearing to see if that changes my mind.
okay, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I think a public hearing is very important. I think that we have to hear from the public. So I don't have a problem with that at all.
So I'm getting a sense that it's the consensus of the board that I should draft the local law to opt out of both. Correct. So that you can introduce it at the next meeting and schedule a public hearing, I take it for the following meeting.
Yeah, we'd have to wait after we introduce it. so-
Gotta
so we-
introduce it.
For the public, though, it's
So it
sitting
will be
here.
An October hearing.
Let's understand. You're drafting a law that says we'll have nothing here. But at the public hearing, the public has the right to object to that. And if they object, then what's the next step?
And it's your policy decision whether or not to amend the local law, not adopt the local law, or proceed forward and adopt the local law, at which point, if you adopt the local law, it would be adopted subject to permissive referendum, which means that if there are enough people dissatisfied in the public with that local law to opt out, then if they get the requisite number of signatures on a petition and file it with the town clerk within the requisite time, then it would have to go to referendum and there would be a public vote.
And the requisite number is a percentage of the
I think
population?
it's, if I remember correctly, Jane, I think it's 5%
5%.
of the total vote in the last gubernatorial election in the town of Tustin. So when you look at how many people voted on all the different
500.
lines for governor in that particular year, and you take 5% of that, that
So
is the
it's
number.
like-
if I
It's
recall
like
correctly.
30 people.
Yeah, it's not a big number. It's not a high hurdle.
All right, so for those of you that want us to opt in, these are the procedures.
Out of business.
What?
All local drug dealers out of business.
If we'll put just marijuana. Brandy has a, I don't know.
In public comment, we'll do it. I'm not opening the floor until then.
So Tuesday, September 14th?
No, we're
Oh.
going to,
draft the
Ken will
law.
draft the law. We will present the law at the next meeting, and at the next meeting, after presentation of the law for.
You'll
October.
introduce the local law, you'll schedule the public hearing for the following month, and then the following month you'll hold the public hearing. And you'll
It'll be
make your
in
policy.
October.
Yeah, October 12th.
Okay. And that's how government works. Not dissatisfied.
3.3 Bridge Street. Ken, we had talked about this, an authorization, draft the contract. For
Right.
sale pending, based on the appraisal. So I would make a motion to authorize the attorney for the town to draft a contract agreement for 274 Bridge Street. That would be pending the,
Yeah, and I can do that, just, if somebody can give me, because I don't have the particulars about the owner's name, address,
I will give you,
section block,
and I-
lot number of the property would be good.
Yeah.
And a copy of the deed, if you can pull it out of the,
and she will get that for us.
and
yeah,
I,
I'm sure he's got a copy of it.
I have the owner's attorney too.
That'd be good also.
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
What property? And what's that?
Public comment will come. 247, I have a motion. I will put it in 247 Bridge Street. I might have. I've been known to change my numbers. I have it in the form of a motion for 247
second
Bridge
it.
Street. I have a second by Jane. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Main Street Culvert Project. Did we hear back?
No, I just sent him the email
Okay,
requesting it, so I asked them to please get back, I think, within 2 weeks.
okay.
Because we're, and said that if not, if we can't resolve this now, the town board will likely proceed with eminent domain to require.
Did you tell him we were close at all
That we were close.
to his request?
So I sent him a copy of the marked up,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
and these
good.
are our proposed changes, and this is the extent to which we can accommodate what they asked for, and really, I took another look at it. We didn't make a lot of changes to their ask.
No, and he sounded very reasonable.
Yeah, so,
Okay. So the board's okay with just leaving this until the next meeting, since we've got a 2-week response time anyway. Okay.
as I think Jane said last week, that we're already into next year with the project
Yeah.
at this point anyway. And if we have to go the other route, it's not gonna happen fast.
No, and the 2 weeks isn't gonna fill us with the hope that it, okay.
And sometimes it's easy to get somebody to agree to something when you're not holding it. accountable to it.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Sometimes we just not gonna agree no matter what.
3.5, Ken, I know that this kind of just got dumped on you a little bit.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing it.
Okay.
But this is all policy determination. You guys, did you pull this out of somewhere? Did somebody else-
Jane and I worked on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I glanced through it, while I was here before the meeting started. I mean, I'm not offended by anything in it. It's
Okay, should I read it aloud?
There's one aspect of it that's not gonna satisfy some of your constituents.
Yeah. Let me read it aloud, let the board discuss it and see if this is the way they want to go with it. Policy of live streaming of the town of Tustin public meetings. Number one, the purpose is to provide additional means for the public to view public meetings convened by the town of Tustin Town Board held at the town of Tustin Community Hall located at 210 Bridge Street, Narrowsburg, New York. A policy statement, this policy reflects the town of Tustin's commitment to be transparent and accessible government with the introduction of live streaming of town board meetings. Those meetings under section 103 of the open meetings laws that do not require the public attendance will not be live streamed. The objective number three is to provide accessibility and a more flexible and convenient access to a larger audience by a means to watch meetings in real time without the need to attend in person, and to promote greater community awareness and confidence in the integrity and accountability of the governmental processes. Number four, the procedures. Regular and special board meetings of the town of Tustin that are held in the town hall will be streamed live on the internet via the town website, townoftustin.org. The recordings will then be uploaded to the website within 48 hours. C, other public meetings of the town of Tustin may be live streamed as determined by the town board. And D, public comments during the prescribed times will be permitted only by those persons in attendance at the town hall. E, the town of Tustin will take no responsibility for and will not be liable for live streaming being temporarily unavailable to technical issues beyond its control, which may include but not be limited to availability of internet connection, device failure, or malfunction or power outages. Board's comments on those or changes in that?
Comments could always be done by email, correct?
Well, just similar to, I had the letter I read today. That was sent in. It's not that people are being muzzled by any means. And one fact, I think, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking to hold a public hearing in 2 months on the marijuana law.
Public hearing aspect is where I think there might be a legal issue. Ordinary public comment,
No issue.
I don't think there's an issue with that at all. I do think there's an issue, and I can research that further and I'll give you a little more information on that. But my recollection is that you couldn't, because that was one of the functions of the executive order when COVID hit, was so that it would enable public hearings to be conducted that way as well. And my recollection is you couldn't comment. I mean, you could submit a written comment, obviously, but you couldn't comment remotely.
So you're saying that there can't be public comment at a,
Public
A
hearing,
public hearing.
just a public hearing, not a regular board.
But
meeting.
I'm not saying that you can't, as a policy determination, if you decide to live stream, that you can't make it interactive if that's your choice and open it up to, if, like with the Zoom meeting where you entertain the public comment.
oh, I
That's your
thought
pleasure.
you said- oh, I misunderstood you. That's what I thought.
I'm not
you
saying
said.
it's across the board. I'm only concerned about in the context of a formal public hearing that's required by law, your budget public hearing, for example, a public hearing on a local law, those sorts of things. Those are the areas where I'm concerned that you might not legally be able to entertain public comment
Oh,
under that mechanism. I'll double check it though to make sure. I don't want to.
okay.
So if you can make it interactive, the live stream, is there a problem with that?
No, I see potential problems, but no, there's not a large problem. It'll be more on the clerk. As long as we don't get into the same issues that we had when we had Zoom, which was feedback and I can't hear and, your sound is echoing. So no, there is no problem. I don't have any problem with the public having the ability to comment. Personally, I would prefer that we start out like this, get it up and running and see how it works.
We have the technical equipment.
I think we need to at least get a better camera. We would set the meetings up a little bit different when we have public comment from the audience, it would have to be at a single microphone. Um, You know, that way, at least those that are on the live stream then can hear without having the echo or somebody in the back trying to speak loud enough to be onto the microphone. The same thing, our microphones would be into it, so I think that'll work fine.
And then you wouldn't have to move the camera could be just.
No,
focused
that
on
would
the
be, that would be the idea of using the microphone. That way the camera's set up, it's not distracting, you don't have somebody interfering with it. I mean, if the board wants to go full interactive to start with, then we can change that one section there. If the board wants to start out like this, then we can do this and see how interactive works. It's very easy to change. It's the striking of one sentence.
You basically would remove that item B and renumber E.
Yep.
Remove item B.
In 4,
Under
Yeah.
objectives.
the procedure,
Yeah, remove that.
and then below it, the next paragraph, which is enumerated is E, you would just make that become D.
You're taking out D.
Well, if the board wishes that, yes, that would be, this becomes D, and that goes away.
Up to everybody. I think it's okay. I don't know why not.
Can I get a comment from the clerk?
Would you like to make a comment? I mean, is it possible? Absolutely possible. The biggest, my biggest, or the biggest concern that we've had throughout the whole thing is whether the public could hear or not. And what we've been trying to do is during the meetings when we did them, just so everyone here that is here, that's usually on Zoom would know. I have somebody else that has, because right here we have really good broadband. So I do have someone that's typically upstairs that's listening in and that's able to tell me how they're able to hear it. I also am personally logged in my phone with the internet down here that this computer is using to host it. And I have that in my ear so I can hear if it's being clear or not. And 90% of the time, when someone says it's muffled or it's not clear, it's actually the person that's viewing the meeting. It's not from our end. Because then I go back and double check my recordings and I can hear it. It's hurt, you can hear them. Or if there's somebody in our public that is commenting, like tonight, the comment, because I'm still trying to see it. It's recording right now on a Zoom per se, and it's being listened to. Anyone that in the audience that is wearing a mask, even Jane sitting this close to the microphone on the table, she's barely heard. It's just, those are the kind of things where it's difficult to hear. So we have tried to enable, the words on the bottom. It would definitely just take a little bit of tweaking and a couple expenses probably just to add a couple of other things here to make it work. Is it possible? Yes. Time consuming? Yes. And it just patience from the audience to understand that most of the time, again, not all the time, most of the time, if you can't hear it properly, it's not always on, it's usually not on this end. And a lot of time when video cameras are on, the board would decide, I don't know if they're allowed to ask the public to keep their cameras off or they need to have their cameras on for us to see them, not for them to see us. Obviously, they're going to want to see us, or the board rather. But if you're at home and you have your camera on so that we can see your face, but your internet is not strong enough, if you turn your camera off so we can only hear you, you'll be able to hear us better because the video that you're trying to give us is eating up your internet. And that's become a big issue.
Oh, no, it didn't.
And I've also,
Well,
I
I-
have looked around to see if, because once you start with one meeting, right now you're only discussing town board meetings. Your next is going to become your zoning board meeting, possibly your committee meeting that you're gonna possibly start up, and your planning board, zoning board, and the committee that's coming. Those are 3 other meetings. So if you want that, that's either myself or the town board would like to choose. I mean, I have asked around and I did find someone that is able to be a deputy to myself to help with those type of situations.
So
Does that give you feedback?
Well, yeah, it does.
Okay.
Thank you for that. again, just clarify for me, are you talking about live streaming or Zoom?
So if we were to do the live streaming, I would still be using Zoom technology. It's a different form thereof, but it's within Zoom. But it's the same, you can do either or.
And that's because our platform, we already pay for the platform. Those platforms only
Mhm.
give you a
They give you
certain
30 to
limit.
40 minutes and then they will shut your live video off if it asks you around. And we've had good luck with it. I feel set, for the most part, I feel secure with it. We've learned how to use it. We've been able to maintain the same IDs for each meeting, and that makes it easier for the public to access it. We haven't had any issues. Minor issues like just trying to figure out who's accidentally hit unmute and I have to try to mute them because they don't realize they're muted. That kind of thing happens, but
Okay, so what you're saying is that you're going to be responsible for setting this all up and being there or someone else in your stead.
I'm saying yes, more or less. The board would have to approve that though, because that is not in the budget.
Okay. We have a budget coming up shortly, right?
Mhm.
But that's for next year.
Yeah, right.
But we've got enough in contingency that we can move.
Okay.
We can move from contingency to a fund.
Okay. Are we talking about a lot of money?
I don't think so. It's gonna depend
Well,
on the number of
depends. It
meetings.
depends, yeah, number of meetings. I mean, depending on how much setup it
For
is that
this
you're
year,
doing.
no, we're not talking a lot other than the equipment and some hours.
Right.
I think it would give us a feel.
I mean,
for
to set it
budget
up properly,
time
you're
in
gonna need to come in
October.
before the meeting, get it set up. So whoever is doing it, they're gonna have to come in before the meeting, make sure it's set up properly. Right
And we'll
now,
be able to
it's
look at the
me.
number of hours that you've had this previous year
Those are insane.
because of all the meetings that we did. So at least we do have a good track record
Mhm.
of about how many hours it is gonna be and
Mhm.
then we can figure out a cost based on that. Okay.
Thank you
And-
very much.
To be clear, the board members still would have to be in person.
Board members have to be here. There's a whole other layer if you want to have a board member attend a meeting by video conferencing, and that's video conferencing.
Yeah, I got
There are
that.
standards that are applicable. to
I've
that.
got that in the new business coming up, unfortunately, for the planning board meeting. But what's the board's feel on D and E?
I think if we can do it, we should do it.
Yeah, I think that a number of people out in the audience have made a good presentation to do it as interactive as possible.
So we'll take the policy that has just been read, make a motion to adopt it after we have removed letter D and renumbered letter E to number D. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Now we're back to public comment. Before new business. Michael?
Couple of quick questions. Zoom during the whole pandemic worked very effectively as a home for town board meetings, comp plan meetings, et cetera. In a hybrid environment, if you are here present in the room, can you hear comments coming in from somebody zooming in?
Yes, and we've also, we did buy a projector. That's supposed to be also for training and such, so the board we could even have the projector so you could see them.
We've started to make
We're
some
slowly
purchases
Trying.
to,
Second question then is on the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act. Is there a hard deadline for the town to finally make a decision?
If the town board does not opt out by December 31st of this year, it can't opt out after that. You
The
have
town
to,
board is in.
yeah, the way the law is structured, you're in unless you opt out, and you can only opt out in this limited period of time before the end of this year. Now, if you were to opt out before the end of this year, and next year, 2 years from now, you decided, let's opt in, you can opt in back in afterwards. But if you don't opt out now, you can't ever opt out. Unless they amend the state statute.
This is it?
yes,
That's
this is-
So there's a hard deadline.
There's a hard deadline to opt out.
Randy,
Do you have a working date for the October, public hearing?
No, we'll set that at the next board meeting after we introduce the law.
Also, are you guys interested in having some experts come here and maybe talk to you guys about the positive and negative aspects of this law? Because we have an attorney who lives in this town who drafted the actual law and all of it. And he would come here and talk, answer any questions about schools or children or what these doors entail. Just to clarify, he goes around all over the state, talking to people wanting answers. Because
That might be a good
information
person to have during the public hearing to make a presentation before the public hearing, if the board so desires.
same day as the public hearing.
You would normally do it during a public hearing, yeah, that
Is
would.
there a time limit?
Normally, normally there's a time limit, but we could, if we could invite him in as a guest, we could invite him, the board can invite him in as a guest and
How should he proceed? Contact you guys?
contact me, CC you.
So
And-
if you're gonna do that, probably the smart thing to do would be let him make his presentation first.
Before
And then entertain whatever public comment there might be. Him giving that presentation may answer some, because some public comment isn't just, I'm for it, I'm against it. Sometimes public comment is, I got a question, what if, what about? And he may save a lot of that.
much like when Helen did the
Yeah.
presentation prior to the water and sewer, or the water project. So we could have him come in prior to the public hearing. Give, he could tell us how long he needs, what he effectively wants to use for the amount of time and just go from there.
Connect with you guys unless you're open to it.
Well, it's a law and it's a public hearing. I mean, what harm's gonna come from having them come? Change somebody's mind?
No more law, I just encourage you.
Star,
First of all, if it's done at a public hearing, that once again, eliminate anybody that can't look at this. Building in order to make the presentation. I think we should set the public hearing date at the next meeting. Have the guy come in, give the presentation, that will be on Zoom, hopefully at that point, so everybody can hear what's going on, advertise it, when it's done, to get the widest audience possible, and then go ahead with it. With the public hearing where you have to be here in person, the people, hopefully, that are really solid on one side or the other, will make it a point to either be here or try to come in and represent them. To make a vote.
that's fine.
Okay, the other, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I've got another thing. You mentioned something about, the problem with the Zoom meetings was that people can hear and microphones weren't working. I couldn't hear three of you, four of you tonight. One with a mask and three without a mask. Ken came across because he was using a speaking voice. He wasn't using, let's have a gathering.
He's a professional, what can I say?
So, you can joke about it, Dan.
Star, I get the point. Thank you.
This is not a joke. This is a representation that people are being denied by not being having this to be able to come in.
I
And
believe we
wanna
just
make
passed a
sure-
policy, Star, that is exactly what you asked for. So that's pretty good representation. You came out and you put your point together.
On new business. I don't believe you have the authority to restrict. Once you have a public comment section, what anybody says during that public comment.
Next, yes, Iris.
I'd just like some clarification. By that, do you mean when you said, let's start like this is the this, does that mean that we are going to do Zoom and that there will be public comment? I just need to have
Yes.
clarification
That's,
on both.
we're going to start doing the Zoom with public comment from people other than those that are in attendance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Brendan,
3.0, item 3.3, bridge street, maybe I just, I don't know your meeting. What's the issue with 247 Bridge Street?
what was the question?
We want to know
What's the
what's
issue with 247 Bridge?
We're looking at, the town's looking at purchasing it.
What's the-
At this point, we're looking at utilizing it for parking spaces.
Main Street Culvert project, is that the Lake Erie? Oh,
Yes.
And the live stream policy which you read, and thank you for interpreting what I heard. Can we get a copy of that, or will that be posted on the website?
That can be posted on the website. Doreen?
I just have one question and really has nothing to do with this. I'm really concerned about our ambulance service in the town. There's been calls that just are not answered by anybody. And it's, I had a neighbor down there, his son had a CHI, and he was in a bad seizure. Nobody came. Finally, somebody came from, Pennsylvania. Now, are they allowed to come into New York State?
Yeah, there's reciprocal agreements. It is something that has got the attention of the board.
That's all I want to know.
Yeah, I've had some conversations with some of the other supervisors regarding that. And we're not alone in that, unfortunately. Wanda,
Cleaning up Little Lake Erie and the mountains. Looks like he's doing a good job.
I'll let them know. Any other comment before we walk into new business? Yes, sir.
Part of my business is helping form procedures around meetings that include live streaming and effective speaking and technical protocols. So if there's anything I can volunteer to help or be a second set of eyes on, I'm happy to do that
Okay.
while we're looking.
I think Crystal will be very open to that.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes. Fred Triggs. Frederick Triggs. New business, zoning update committee. We've been working with Peter Manning.
Can I just go backwards, just to double check? Sorry. The policy, is it just town board or are you doing zoning and planning?
Well, right now, it is town board with the ability for the board to approve others,
Okay, I'm just trying to plan.
which is why in the new business, we're also going to go into about
Okay.
the zoning, the planning board. A motion to approve the creation of the zoning update committee with the appointment of the following members, myself, the deputy supervisor, Jane Luxinger, the town assessor, Kenny Bain, the town code enforcement officer, Jim Crowley, planning board member, Sean Harrington, the zoning board chair, Nico Torres, and the previous zoning rewrite chair, Kathy Michelle. That was the group you were speaking of. Any questions from the board?
Everybody's on board with that.
They are. They are.
So somebody has to make a motion. I don't think you and I can make.
I'll make the motion.
And a second,
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye, opposed? 5.2, water and sewer, motion to set a public committee meeting at the town hall for the purpose of the water and sewer committee, which is myself, the deputy supervisor, and Councilman Smith. So with the three, and Dave Bunce would be there. So with the three of us there, we need to do it as a noticed public meeting. So
Wednesday is fine.
which, either day,
Wednesday.
Wednesday is good,
This Wednesday?
this Wednesday.
Or
I'm sorry.
tomorrow?
Yeah, no, a week from today. I don't think I told Jane about this.
No, you didn't give me a date. I heard you talking about it.
Notice just goes on the website and out on the bulletin.
Yeah, that should be
Does it
fine.
need
The
to be published
website,
in
doesn't- it
paper or
doesn't
no?
need to be the paper, does it?
No, you should, I shouldn't.
Okay, yes.
It's not giving enough time to have it next Wednesday.
What time?
Paper goes out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's 5 days after the paper went out.
Let's see.
Today's Tuesday, the,
I'm gonna be able to-
yeah,
All right. Wednesday.
it would be the 18th.
All right. Okay.
Wednesday, the 18th?
Mhm.
What time?
That's up to you two.
I don't care, Al.
Morning, afternoon.
Morning is good.
Yeah, morning. 9 or 10.
9 is all right.
Is that,
That's fine
you
by
can
me.
handle that? Okay, 9 o'clock.
I'll drag myself out
Well,
of bed.
just one thing, does Dave normally work Wednesdays?
He normally does not, but next week, the guys are in training also. He'll be there all day. That's why he asked if we could do
Okay.
one of those 2 days. So that'll be the 18th at 9 AM. I'm sorry, in person. Yeah, it's a more of a work session, but because we've got 3 of us there. I put that in the form of a motion for the hearing. A second? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Al. The Water Sewer District is looking to purchase a GPS unit. There's 3 quotes here. One's for $3,410, one's for $3,403, and one's for $3,565. They do have the money in the budget, and it's for the purposes of, as they're going out into putting these new valves in, and as they start doing the upgrade, they're gonna GPS all of these, so they're not going out with the metal detectors trying to dig up streets.
So it's 3410 to 3500?
Yes.
I think that Dave should pick the right one then.
Okay. So I would
Not to
entertain
exceed, a motion for the purchase, not to exceed whatever the.
motion to approve the Board of Sewer Superintendent to purchase a GPS unit for the district in an amount not to exceed $3,565.50.
I'll make that motion.
I will second. All in favor? Opposed?
I'd just like to make a comment on that.
Yes.
And it's basically, it's connected to that, it's not that. I'll try. My comment is that, I think one of the problems that, Dave has is knowing how much water is in that tank that we have, the water tank. It's gonna be quite a while before that project gets underway. And I think that, if I'm correct, I think that you can purchase a transducer that we can put into that tank, lower it into the tank. And it'll be able to tell you how much by pressure, how much volume is in there. And I think you can get something for about $2,500 that's gonna do the job, and it'll give him a readout on his phone. Because right now, there's no way that he knows how much water is in that tank. So I think for a $2,500 investment, if he could take a look at that and take a look and pursue that and see if that's something that he can use. I think it would greatly help him and that pump.
We can bring that up to Wednesday. if you want.
Wednesday, yeah.
And we can have enough time in between now and then to look into it. and then do it.
Yeah, good.
Is that open to the public?
Yes, yes. The planning board, I've got a request from the chair of the planning board to have his next board meeting, which would be the September meeting, via Zoom for him and for Kenny, and the rest of the board to be here. I explained to him the rule.
Yeah, I mean, the technology has to be, everybody has to be able to see each other.
I've asked him to come to the upstairs and do him from the upstairs of the town hall, because he doesn't have it at his house. It didn't work during COVID. It's not gonna work now. And he is amicable to doing that.
Because all the board members have to be able to see each other and the public has to be able to see all of the board.
Well, that's a problem too. If the public wants to go upstairs, they can go upstairs. It doesn't,
Well, that's, yeah, there's a bit of a divergence, and even in the Committee on Open Government there, because originally their opinion was that wherever the meeting participant is, the board member is sitting, that has to be open to the public, but now they've kind of split the baby on that, and they've decided that, for example, if it's a small local board, maybe not so much, but if you're a bigger body, sort of like the Committee on Open Government, where they've got members that are from different areas of the state, then if I'm participating remotely from Buffalo, the public has to come and see where I'm sitting in
So within the
Buffalo.
limits of the
And
town.
they gotta be just as much able to be in Albany wherever the guy from Albany is participating. But it's a complicated process to do a video conference meeting for participation by board members. Way more complex than just letting the public watch.
Right, we should be okay with them. That's for a September meeting.
Oh,
The projectors upstairs already. You project them on the big screen.
Do we need to do that with a motion, Ken, or does that? Just approve it?
You know, it's
Just
not clear.
approve it.
I mean,
It's all up and they don't have anything on this.
no, there really isn't a lot of guidance in statute on it. It just mentions that you can do it. But I don't think it's a bad idea for the board to give it its blessing, because there's gonna be some time and expenditure associated with it, right?
Anybody have a problem with that? Okay, we don't have to do it as a motion, we'll just. Any other new business?
No, you didn't do the budget transfer. You have to look on the other, either I gave you there.
Here you go.
5.4 is there,
Thank you.
Cal.
5.3 is budget transfers. Now, this is what we were discussing earlier today. Decrease SS 8197.4 sewer capital outlay by 5,000, increase SS 8130.2 sewage treatment equipment by 5,000. Decrease SW 8397.4 capital improvement property 6,000, increasing SW 8330.4 purification by 6,000. Decrease SW 8397.4 capital improvement property 5,000, and increase SW 8340.4 transmission distribution contractual 5,000. I'll make the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now do we have other new business that I've missed? Final public comment? Yes, Ed.
Has there been a noticeable decrease in water consumption since aqueduct has taken water?
No.
No. Are they still taking water?
They haven't since I've been here. I think they stopped that a year or two before.
I saw 2 tanker trucks now, within a half hour.
Out of where?
2,000 gallons of water, out of the tower.
When was this?
I got it written down somewhere.
In the last 2 years?
Randy was on the board.
That was before Ben.
Yeah, I'm asking that if it was, well, I've been supervisor.
They took a lot of water out there, so I mean, it should decrease if they stop.
I would have to actually look at, because since I've been here, they have not been taking water. That was stopped prior to me coming in. At least a year before.
Because they put a meter out there. I don't know if the meter's still on there. I understand when the meter went on, they quit taking it.
Yeah, I don't, that was before me.
Sorry.
It's okay. Any other public comments? Closing items, board comments? I got 1 for quiet, 2 for quiet. Jane?
I don't have anything to say.
What is happening?
Hmm.
Meeting reminders. At this point, do we still have a work session scheduled for the 7th, whether that's going to go off or not, of September? And our regular town board meeting on the 14th of September. There's no other business. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor. Thank you.
Al and Jane, do not leave. Ben, do not leave.
Amanda cannot leave.
I don't have it.
Leaving for the corner.
I will be there, for sure.
Ben, are you,
Kathleen is
Corner
back
bound?
there.
I'll discuss it with the,
Good boss.
Better
with
have.
the senior official.
Bernie, we do work with the engineer.